let's talk about the word God. Of all the things that I teach, this is probably the thing I get most pushback about. And let me tell you why. So I use the word God instead of source or spirit or the divine because to me it is more accurate for what I am trying to say. Source, spirit, the divine is all an aspect of God. God is, to me, our inherent interconnectedness, the unity of all consciousness and the oneness of us all in that collective consciousness. Nothing is not God, and God is therefore everything, right? So God is not a religious idea for me. And I was raised inside of different religions. I went to a uniting church school and all of those things, as many of us did. But I was never indoctrinated with an idea of God within my own being as an external power that has determination over my life. So the way I teach an understanding of God outside of a religious paradigm is that quantum field, that unified consciousness of which we are all a part, which is quantum physics, that inherent interconnectedness that is inherently interconnected. I know that sounds redundant, but as in what I do contributes directly to the health of that collective oneness. Nothing I do is happening in isolation. This is also quantum physics, right? So everything that I do or someone else does or that happens is having an impact on the health and well-being of the collective. That is why service is the primary value of the Institute, because we understand that we are even, on our own meditation cushion doing our yoga, contributing something that whilst benefits us as an individual, in truth is in service to the oneness, the allness, the God consciousness that we are all part of. Just as if I stay in my fear or my low vibrational feelings or I'm angry all of the time, that is my contribution. And it isn't not contributing. Nothing is happening in isolation. Everything is happening as part of that oneness. The reason why the word God matters to me is because it is the only word that I've encountered that is big enough to articulate or encompass all of that oneness, right? There is nothing that is outside of that oneness that is God. So that's a little bit of an understanding. And the reason I bring this up is because it is an area that I get pushback on. Because I will not only use the word, I will say you are God and I am God and everything is God. And very often people resist that or get angry and troll me on the internet because their belief system is that God is separate to us. It is a separate power. And that separate power is often a comfort to us. If we believe that we are one with God, made of God, and acting as God's hands and feet in the world, then who the hell is in charge, right? Who is taking care of everything? And so we're often very dedicated or addicted to the idea of God as an external higher power that is making choices that seem to somehow go beyond our individual choosing, so that it's like having a really good parent hanging around, right? We've got a really good dad in charge and dad knows what's going on. And even if I mess up, it's okay because dad's got me. What happens when I say, well, actually, you are the dad in that story as well as the child who needs a dad? That feels like a lot of pressure or responsibility for a lot of people. And in fact, my intention is the very opposite. But we have to go through the stages of letting go of an idea of an external power to recognize the power is within us. Yes, in that analogy, you are both the parent and the child. And that can feel like too much. And yet that is the key to our understanding of God beyond this binary, beyond this idea of an external authority that ultimately is going to take care of the things that I am not willing or able to take care of. We often like the idea of an external God as well because it means that we can pray to something or we can call on that higher power to intervene on our behalf. So again, if I say you are God, you're praying to yourself. God, I'm going to have to take personal responsibility for my life, my actions, my choices. This is why things like, confession are so flawed, because it is, again, saying something outside of me will absolve me of the responsibility of my poor choices. And then I don't actually have to rectify those choices or change those behaviors. I can just keep going back for absolution. Yeah, we can see the ripple effect of that in the world, right? That no one is taking responsibility. But what if I see myself as divinely responsible for everybody else, everything else. To me, that is an incredible gift of returning to our own inner authority and power, that my actions are not happening in isolation, that I am not powerless, I am not finite and limited and separate, but in fact, everything I do is contributing either more of what I want to see in the world or less of it. So I now have a starting place. I know how to bring change. I know how to be a positive force for change because I am not seeing God as separate from me. I am that which is capable of changing the reality of for myself, but also for others. And then I have to take that responsibility and do better, right? I have to be unafraid of that responsibility. So really using the word God and saying that you are God is about supporting us all, me included, to come home to the truth of our power. We are not finite. We are not limited. We are pure, unlimited consciousness because we are God. We are made of God. We are God, and we're contributing that godness or not to the field so that others may remember their own inner authority and their own power. So my use of the word God is not accidental, and it's certainly not religious. It's certainly not trying to suggest that there's something external to you. It is the recognition that you are the entire universe in ecstatic motion. You are that which made the trees and the stars and the moon and the earth and the dirt and the flowers. We are in everything, and everything is in us. We can think of this through the idea of the holograph. And the holograph is an idea that many, many great spiritual teachers have talked about, so I'm not going to go into it. But the central theme is the part contains the whole, right? If we look at a holographic image, the part contains the whole. No matter how tiny you take a piece of that image in a holograph, it will have the entire image contained within it. Rumi says this in another way, which is, I am not a drop in the ocean, I'm in the entire ocean in a drop. So the idea of God as us, as we being that, is not this idea that I'm trying to be sacrilegious, but I am potentially taking away your comfort that there is some external power that knows more than you do. You are the highest power. You are the highest authority. And the purpose of this life is to attain that God realization, that full remembrance that I am the creator of all, right? And this can feel very confusing and conflicting as we are dismantling this indoctrination into this belief of God as dad, right? God as some external power that we can go to ask for absolution of our sins or to request, whatever it is that we feel like we need. We are the only ones we're requesting or seeking absolution from. And that means we then have to be willing to make the changes in our own lives that will bring us closer to whatever we desire or what we want less of. So this is the reframe of the idea of God. And again, as I say, it's the thing I get most pushback around, but it's also a place of great possibility for curiosity, because ultimately I use that word with an invitation for you to self-define. That is what inner authority means. You get to decide what it means and how you use it. If there is a better word for you, do that, right? But open to your own objections, resistances, programs, indoctrinations before you dismiss either the idea of God or the idea of you as God. Why do I believe that? Why is that sitting in my consciousness? Is it a limit, or is it a way that I'm trying to comfort myself and have this false sense of safety and security that something out there has got more idea of what is happening in my life than I do, and therefore I feel like I'm taken care of? Or can I actually take that personal responsibility and be the God that I want to see in the world? There's a lot more that I could say on this, but in short, my position is that God is not external to us. God is our highest self. We are in this life to remember that highest self and then to act and live from that, because we realize that God is in everything else and God is in me, and all of that godness is inherently interconnected. So nothing I do is happening in isolation. You are the power, you have the authority, and your contribution matters. So if you're feeling small, limited, or finite, perhaps this might be a way for you to come home to a greater sense of agency and authority to contribute something better to a world that you might otherwise judge as being not good enough or having failed or being in a state of dystopia, which, is pretty accurate if we look around. But what we forget is that we are the only thing that needs to change. And if we're willing to make that change, then we are willing to take action on behalf of the collective good. And that is how we start remembering how powerful we are. We also end judgment, but we might save that for another live. Have the most beautiful day.